We got us a 2007 Ford F-150 in here. It's a four-wheel drive with a big 5.4 engine in it. And we got our wheel bearing out on it. So we're going to put a wheel bearing hub assembly in it. Okay, let's remove this wheel. Remove your center cap. Okay, next we're going to remove the caliper and the bracket. And I'll just swing this around like this. These are 13 millimeter that holds the caliper on. You can take this whole thing off if you wanted and left that on there, but it just makes it easier if you just pull the caliper off and then bracket off. That way you're not trying to line up everything as you go in. So I'll take a screwdriver, I'll just go in the center of the caliper here, and then I'll shoot for these holes that's on the center of the brake rotor, and I'm just prying this caliper, trying to get them pistons forced in where I can slide this caliper off. A little bit, not quite. It hung on there a little bit. There we go. There we go. Now we'll get I'll get something and tie that caliper up out of the way. Take a piece of wire here and tie that thing up. Right up in here. Like that. I'll take these little brake pad retainer pins here. Just slide inside these pads. Now you can pull these pads all the way off if you want. I'll just leave them on until I get the bracket off. I'll leave that all together. And them are 18 millimeter. You can use a regular ratchet socket. Just gonna make it a little quicker here. There's the bracket. That's where it bolts into. One here, one here. Right there, right there. And then we'll go ahead and pull this rotor off. Sometimes these rotors are stuck on them pretty good. If it's stuck on, just take a hammer and just don't hit the facing part, but hit right here. That usually breaks them loose. Next, this will have an ABS sensor that'll come with a new one, and it's got a series of retainers that run up. Just grab it, follow it, and remove these retainers on it. And somebody's got a tie strapped up here. But let me show you here. See that cable? It's hooked in here. It'll run up through here, and it's hooked in with some plastic retainers. It comes up here, and there is a connector for it right behind this wheel well, right. If I can get it up, right up in here, and you'll just unplug that connector. See if I can. Do that real quick. There's the connector, and I'm just going to push the release pin on it, pull it out, and I'll cut this tie strap that they've got on there off. And that, see if I can break it off with these needle nose pliers. And there, and that's loose. Next, what I'm going to do is next, what I'll do is I'm going to blow all this dirt, everything off around this. Because when we break this hub and bearing assembly loose, whatever dirt is right here, it's going to fall into this cavity back here where this four-wheel drive actuator sits. It's got grease and everything in there, and whatever falls in there is going to contaminate. It's got a little cap right here in the front. Usually you can take a hammer, and maybe a smaller screwdriver in this usually works, but this one's been off several times, it looks like, so they've already get it up quite good. Get around that lip, pry it out. There is a 13mm nut right here. We'll remove it out of the way. We're moving it off, not out of the way, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to bump that. Make sure that's freed up inside there. So next we're going to pull this cable. It retains in this knuckle here. There's a little retainer. And I'm going to spin it around. We'll have 4 18mm bolts back here in the back that holds that bearing hub on. Let me get my light here. Right there on the top is one. There's one on the other side of that one. And then one right here on the bottom. And then one back here. So there's a total of 4 of them. Them are 18mm. And we will remove them. Spray a little penetrating oil on it. rotate our knuckle back around this way. And we'll get these other two on this other side. Spin it back here forward. We'll take a take you a hammer, and these Fords are usually pretty easy to pop out. They're not like a Dodge or something where you hit the hammer all day on these things. Around here, free that up, pushing that center in. Bearing is definitely bad. Okay, next, you'll see inside here is where I was talking about. You don't want that dirt to all drop down inside here. That's your end of the CV axle shaft. And here's the four-wheel drive actuator. It's got the little gears, little teeth in it right there. You know, all that grease. So we'll clean this out a little here. But first, I'm going to clean this surface right here. It's got rust, dirt on it. When I go back with my new one, I want that to be all nice and flush. We got rust or something in there, I can put it in a bind. So we'll stuff some rags in here. You could use a wire brush, a scraper. Wow, blew something right in my eyes. Which I need to get some eye protection on anyway. So we're going to clean this off. But like I was saying, you can use a scraper, some sandpaper, wire brush, get this all clean. But I'm going to use this right here, die grinder with this pad on it here. Now we'll wipe it out. I think that is the back side of that bearing. That piece there. Let me look at the bearing. Yeah, that's the seal for the back side of this bearing. That shouldn't leave that in there. See that? We'll just get in here and clean, clean, and clean. Clean this all out real good. The best you can. You're not going to get it all. Then we'll get us a little bit of grease. And go back with the little grease in there. Still like a wheel bearing type grease. Okay, let me go find some grease. I don't want to stuff this plumb full of grease. Sometimes that could cause problems. We just want to put a little grease on it where it gets on them little teeth in there. And that ought to work just fine. That gear seems to be moving freely, so be all right there. Now we're ready to go back with the new wheel bearing hub assembly. So here's our new hub assembly. So we'll install it in. Now there's a cap back here. I guess I need to remove that. Got a little bearing back in here. Rides on this shaft surface. Now, you see this cable? This is this little retainer part that goes in here. That's the way you need to go on with it. And we'll just slide it in. Just like that. And then we'll install our bolts, our 4 bolts for it that go back through here. Okay, these 18mm bolts that hold this hub in, I'll make sure these are tight now. Calls for 148 foot-pounds on them. So you'll just torque down all 4 of them. See there, even though I thought that was tight using the impact, it still wasn't quite tight enough. And then on this caliper bracket, when you go to bolt it in, them 2 bolts back here, that bolts in like this, I guess, when you get the rotor on it. But them are 148 foot-pounds. The little nut, it sits here, that'll be 20 foot-pounds. And these nuts here that go into the back side of the caliper here and bolt onto the bracket, I think, I'll have to look them up, I think them are 55 foot-pounds. But anyway, you get it all together and then run your wire back up through there. Put our rotor back on, put all that back together, and you're ready to go. Thanks for watching.